The following podcast is an exclusive presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Thank you for coming to the Project Entertainment Network store. Please place your order. A good choice. A t-shirt for the horror show with Brian Keene. Amanda Method coffee mug. There's more. A Necrocastic on hoodie. That's sharp. But why on earth would you want Bizong leggings? Wait, are you Mr. Frank? The Project Entertainment Network store, stacked with goodies from all your favorite podcasts. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs and more. www.projectentertainmentnetwork.com.
There shall come a podcast like no other. Defenders Dialogue with Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Marvel Comics' original superhero non-team convenes once again. The Incredible Hulk, the Savage Submariner, the Master of the Mystic Arts, Doctor Strange, and a dynamic supporting cast of Marvel superheroes battle against evil as the Defenders. Without further ado, true believers, here's your hosts, Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Excelsior!
And welcome back once again, true believers, to Defenders Dialogue. I'm Brian Keene.
And I am Christopher Golden. And Brian, the elf with a gun, and I both say Excelsior.
Excelsior to you, my friend. Elf with a motherfucking gun. This is it. Chris, I can't tell you how happy I am to be talking today about Defenders issue 122, 123, and possibly 124 if we get to it, because we finally get to the origins of the elf with a gun.
We do. And you know, the thing is, Brian, I think, look, we can argue this point. I think the origins of the elf with a gun are interesting. But I'm sorry to say that I just liked it. I liked it so much better when we left it at just this random elf with a gun killing people. In fact, I would venture to say that any television series could introduce this element and be much better for it. Can you imagine, like, pick a random show, your favorite, The Sopranos. If randomly, once in a while during the course of the run of that show, a little elf with a gun showed up and murdered people and was never explained.
I think everything would work better with that plot point. WKRP in Cincinnati, the Gilmore Girls, Fullest House,
The Office.
The
funny thing is that then the elf with a gun would have to look at the camera, which he does anyway.
It's true. Very true.
Anyway, all right. Well, see, folks, this is the beauty of this show. You never know what the fuck we're going to talk about because we don't either. Anyway.
So yeah, we start off Defenders 122, the team which at this point is composed of the Son of Satan, Hellcat, Overmind, Valkyrie, Beast, and Gargoyle, return to that Catholic monastery in Massachusetts where the Son of Satan had gone to find himself.
There you go. There, and our friend, the Miracle Man, is no more. The person who embodied the Miracle Man has now essentially been depowered, defused in some ways, and only Brother Joshua remains. His mind is sort of broken, and he pleads with the abbot at the monastery to help him. He stole the dark soul from Hellstrom's body, but now it's gone, and he doesn't want it back. He just wants to find himself in classic form.
That's right.
But now, Hellstrom, looking definitely worse for the wear, Brian, it's like you after a long weekend here, is no longer has the dark soul, and he's finally freed from satanic influence, and he's ready. He turns to Patsy. Patsy says, in her own, quote, dumb, clumsy way, as she tries to sort of explain her feelings, she starts to say that she loves him, and he rejects that love. Now that the dark soul is gone, wait a second. Now that the dark soul is gone, he rejects her love. He belongs here. He's going to give himself over to the church once more. He began in a monastic life, Brian. And he starts to say goodbye to her. He'll never forget her. And then he has this beautiful moment. And as sappy as it is, it's a great panel where he turns around in classic romance fashion, and they run to one another's arms.
They do.
It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
This is a scene I think you and Mary have played out at Nikon more than once.
You know what? If you're gonna keep comparing me to Son of Satan, then let's really dig into this character moment here, because it's great. It's romantic. He is free of his bad side. The dark soul no longer exists. He's no longer the son of Satan. He's just Damon Hellstrom. And he has a chance here to be free and to discover what that means. But he throws it away because of love. He comes running back to her. He tells her, I love you. And she says, I love you so very much. Now, we on this show, we're not going to cover the modern era of comics. We're covering the Bronze Age. Okay. So this is a happy ending of sorts for the son of Satan and Hellcat.
And we do get their wedding coming up too.
We get their wedding coming up.
Yeah.
But if we were to discuss the modern era of comics, this is when he damns himself by allowing himself to trust this woman and love this woman and be free and open. This is when he damns himself, because as we know, when Warren Ellis brings the character back in the 90s, he is pure dark soul, and it's because of his love of Hellcat that happens. But we won't get into that on this show.
Right.
So this panel could be taken one of two ways.
Now let me ask you a question. Have you seen a copy of that Hellstorm omnibus?
I have seen it at the store. I don't own a copy because I own all the.
Now, I've heard it both ways. Does it or does it not include the 2 completed issues of Satana that Warren Ellis did that were not published by Marvel?
It does.
It does. Okay.
It includes the 1 full issue that was unpublished, and then I believe the script for the 2nd issue that was unpublished, because I don't think that had gotten to the drawing stage
Interesting.
yet.
You know, it's funny because Snagosky and I were in editor Ralph Macchio's office shortly after the decision was made to pull the plug on that. Ralph was beside himself, unhappy about that decision, and pulled out and showed us the artwork for the whole first issue while we were sitting in the office. And it made me so sad at the time. So I'm going to have to get my hands on that because, just to be able to look at that, So
Both were some remarkable work. I didn't care for the artwork. I didn't care for most 90s artwork. But I mean, Warren Ellis was on fire with those 2 series, with Satana and Hellstorm.
And Druid.
And Druid. Oh, God, I'd forgotten about Druid.
Yep. Yeah, great stuff. Anyway, all right.
The violins swell. Damon and Patsy fall in each other's arms, and we transition to New York City the next morning, where the Beast is under attack.
He is under attack. By the way, we should remind our listeners, this is our 3 listeners, that this is scripted again by DeMatteis. Don Perlin's the penciler, and to great effect, Kim DeMulder is the inker. I love DeMulder's inks on Perlin, by the way.
Absolutely.
Anyway, the Beast is under attack by his dog, Sassafras.
That's right. Yeah,
Excuse me. Folks, I'm not making that up. The Beast dog's name is Sassafras.
That's right. He purchased it at the pet shop when he was out jogging that morning, and chaos ensues. The dog and Beast are rolling around the floor. They knock over a table, and what we get is a couple of panels where new readers can get a sense of who these characters are and what their powers are.
Exactly.
The gargoyle can fly by saving the vase, and Overmind can save the lamp by telekinetically propping it back up.
There you go. And then we get the best moment in this section, which is Valkyrie saying, "Well, we're on the subject of true love. Has anyone seen Damon and Patsy? That is, since last night when they went upstairs to ... talk. You do not think that they could still be..." So clearly they kept their friends up last night with their celebration of their love.
That's right. Now, this was in 1983, dear readers. For our millennial readers who probably remember the great Batman penis controversy of last year, this is how we did it back in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Innuendo. Anyway, no, it turns out they're not upstairs knocking boots. They've been out shopping. They went out and got fresh pastries for everyone, and here they come happily. Damon Hellstrom comes in wearing a scarf worthy of Bracken McLeod. And then they're happy. Even the son of Satan is playing with Beast's dog to illustrate the fact that his dark soul is no longer there.
That is one of my two favorite moments from this issue. DeMatteis and Perlin, too, they do such great work showing just how much Damon Hellstrom has changed now that he's free of that dark soul. He's down the floor playing with a puppy dog. Yep. He's smiling. You never see the son of Satan smile. Just very subtle. It's all in the background, but it works so well.
Yeah, no, it's great. Then we get Patsy and Damon announcing their plans to return to Greentown and get married. And Isaac and the Overmind and the Beast and Sassafras are all very excited about this. Valkyrie is definitely disturbed, and so is Dolly. Dolly says, "Oh my." So Dolly actually says, "Pardon the phone that's in the next room there."
No, Dolly doesn't say that. Chris Golden says
we're going to ignore that. Dolly says, "What are you going to do? How are you going to live?" And Patsy reminds her that Damon owns prime real estate on Fire Lake in New England. They're going to sell that. And there's no mention of the fact that in the basement of Fire Lake are stairs that go all the way to hell. But, that's... Brian, that's a comic book series. Somebody in the Marvel Universe buys that house. That's a comic book series right there. Anyway...
Why don't we pitch it?
Go ahead.
Let's do it.
All right.
So yeah, basically, Hellcat ushers everybody out of the room except for Valkyrie and Dolly. And Dolly, she tells her, I don't trust Damon Hellstrom. I don't. Basically, Dolly says everything Mary San Giovanni's mother said to her when we first started dating. And Hellcat says, he's not the son of Satan anymore. He's a man. And Dolly expresses her fear that man is taking Patsy 3,000 miles away. And Patsy assures her, "You're like a mother to me. As soon as we get settled in California, I'm moving you out there with us."
Which solves one problem.
Right. But Valkyrie storms out before they can even talk. And Patsy and Dolly go rushing outside, and Valkyrie has taken off on Aragorn.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's clearly an issue. Valkyrie is pissed off, at being, I think, having this sprung upon her, but she'll explain more shortly. But most importantly here, I just think she's completely, as Carol Burnett said on the Golden Globes the other night, gobsmacked, which is another word we don't use enough.
Well, I think Dolly puts a point on it here. She says, "Patsy, I don't think there have ever been two friends as close as you and Val. Now suddenly you found the right man. You're rushing off to get married, and she feels wounded, alone, maybe even a little jealous."
No wonder Patsy's going to need Dolly to interpret the world for her when she goes wherever she goes. Anyway, upstairs, the Beast and Damon Hellstrom and Isaac and the Overmind and Sassafras chewing a slipper are in a room with the Beast trying to tell the son of Satan a really old, really bad joke, which son of Satan does not get, which I wanted to point that out because I thought that was pretty funny. And then Isaac mentions diapers, and here we get this. This feels like a 1950s sitcom at this point. Patsy says, "Did I hear someone say diapers as in baby?" She and Damon are not in a rush to get to that point.
And once again, we get this change in Damon Hellstrom. She rushes over, gives him a very public display of affection, and the son of Satan actually blushes. Perlin draws him blushing. And, he's uncomfortable. He says, "Patsy, maybe this isn't the time for, it's a completely different man here."
Yeah, completely different. Anyway, we cut away to Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, in Greenwich Village, and he is in meditation. The letterer misspells the word loneliest. In any case, he's in meditation. Wong bursts in. Doctor Strange says, I gave orders. I wasn't to be interrupted. But Doctor Strange has visitors, Brian, and those visitors are the other, three, the other three original Defenders, the Submariner, the Hulk, and the Silver Surfer. Now,
that's right. Now, we should point out to regular listeners, at this point in Marvel history, the Hulk now retains the consciousness of Bruce Banner. That did not happen in the pages of the Defenders. It happened in the pages of the Hulk. So,
and I want to say about that, Brian, that every time the Hulk speaks from here until his last moment in the pages of Defenders, which is coming pretty soon.
Very soon.
I want him gone.
Yeah?
Every time he's in this comic book when he's the Hulk that I know and love, he's my favorite part of the book. The moment he walks on screen or on panel speaking like Bruce Banner, it makes my skin crawl. I hate it.
I generally agree with you. However, there is one moment, the interplay between Hulk and Namor.
I knew you were going to say that because that's mine as well.
Yeah.
But the tables have turned between the two of them.
Yeah, basically it turns out each of them got a summons from Doctor Strange, but it's odd because Doctor Strange did not summon them. And yeah, it's you would think you would hear Hulk say, magician call Hulk to magician's house. Hello, Fishman. Hello, Bird Nose. Hello, Sword Girl. No, there's none of that. Hulk says, I received a similar visitation, Doctor, so I immediately changed into the Hulk and rushed right over. Now, what is the crisis?
Yeah. The one thing I want to point out, too, by the way, is if indeed he willingly and knowingly changed into the Hulk, why is he still wearing pants that are torn to shit?
Because he still couldn't find any clothes that... there's no unstable molecule clothes.
All right, anyway...
So yeah, they're wondering who sent this bogus summons when suddenly, that's right, the elf with a gun jumps out. Somehow he has breached Doctor Strange's headquarters, and he's got all four of the Defenders lined up, and he pulls out his gun. And what does the elf with a gun do with that gun, Chris? What has he done in every time he's appeared in this book?
He shoots them.
Blam!
And in a moment, we're going to give stuff away. Now, you're going to be mad at me, maybe. We'll talk about this in a second. But I will say, I almost feel like DeMatteis should have ended the whole series on that panel.
Oh, what a mind fuck that would have been.
So, bye-bye, folks. That's the end of the Defenders. The elf with a gun has done it again. Anyway, that's how they should kill Wolverine next time.
See, now I want to pitch an issue of what if. What if the elf with a gun killed the Marvel Universe?
Killed the Marvel Universe?
Yeah,
I love it.
Deadpool and Punisher. Why not the elf with a gun?
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, all right. So then we get the sort of farewells. Patsy and Damon are headed to the airport. We have some goodbyes, and as they're driving away in the taxi cab, Hellcat looks out the back window and she sees Valkyrie did come back. She's on Aragorn in heroic pose, rearing up on her steed. Fare thee well, my dearest friend. Fare thee well, Valkyrie's weeping. And we come back to Hank McCoy yelling, "Sassafras! How could you? Haven't you been listening to me? I said on the paper. Which again,
this is what superheroes do in their time off.
Exactly. I love that bit. Yep. Hank then gets all of his fan mail from Avengers Mansion. It's been piling up there that since he's been gone. This is like the end of Miracle on 34th Street when they deliver all of the letters to Santa to the courthouse. He's buried in fan mail. The doorbell rings again. He thinks it's more fan mail. But who is it, Brian?
It's his old friend Bobby Drake, Iceman.
One of the 5 original X-Men along with Hank McCoy.
That's right. And then he was a member of a group called the Champions, which ties in very heavily to the Defenders, and we'll be talking about that in future episodes.
Yep. And then Sassafras pisses on Hank McCoy's pants, it appears to be.
Yep. Now, I have to ask you a question, Chris.
Yes.
And I want to word it carefully, but I want to remind readers I'm a 51-year-old white cis male. I may get my wording wrong. But in modern day continuity, Bobby Drake has, of course, come out as gay.
Yes.
In 1983 continuity, that had not happened. It wasn't canon yet. There was no indication. So this old panel here where, Beast jumps into his icy arms and kisses him and says, "Come on, cutie, pucker up." Does that read differently to you, knowing the modern continuity?
No.
No, it didn't to me either, but I just wondered if millennial readers who are, some of them are reading along with us, might take that panel in a completely different context.
Yeah. No, I love the camaraderie and the teasing and the close friendship between Beast and Iceman, and going forward we'll see Angel as well, and their friendship as guys who sort of grew up together, who went to school together, who were best mates at school. That's one of my favorite things sort of going forward here. But in the sense of that, I don't see the Iceman that we read now as being the same character that we're reading then. Not because I have any issue with if Iceman that we're reading in the pages of the Defenders is gay, that's totally fine, and it doesn't change the way I view the. But in my mind, the characters have been rebooted so many times that doesn't really even feel like the same continuity to me.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's more about my conscious reading of that than it is about the presentation of the characters here. I think we see, we've talked about Overmind, that there's a non-binary gender storyline going on that's actually going on. Sorry?
I was going to say, the Overmind thing, that was groundbreaking for 1983 when this was being published,
Yeah, and that's actually going on in these pages, just like when Sasquatch in Alpha Flight becomes female. Walter Langowski ends up in the body of a woman. It's not quite the same because it's Freaky Friday-ish rather than what's going on with the Overmind. But again, like, that seemed to me to be in the context of the way it was written at the time, whereas any reading now of this story in the context of what's currently in the comics doesn't really jibe for me. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. That's a good way of looking at the Marvel Universe over the years.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, so we return to Valkyrie. She is elsewhere in the house. She's in her room and she's brooding, and she's thinking about Patsy's departure, and it turns out Dolly's right. She's a little jealous. She's reflecting on Submariner, to whom she had recently opened her heart back in Defenders 116, which we talked about. And then, she thinks about Thor and Harrokin, and it says here, these were men in whose arms she could lose herself. Men whose light can only be found within Asgard's gleaming gates.
So is it more that she misses men like that, or that she specifically is attracted to those particular men? That's one of the questions that's going on in her mind. And maybe there's no accident that then her reverie is interrupted by the image of Odin, who's sending her a message, and essentially, cutting to the chase, demands that she return home to Asgard.
Yep.
And thus she does. She's drawn home. Isaac says this has been quite a day for dramatic exits. And then we cut to my favorite panel in the whole issue, Brian. It's Gargoyle in a bathtub full of bubbles.
Yes.
Singing while Bobby Drake in street clothes sits on the edge of the tub, and Hank McCoy brushes his fur after having been the
uses the
implication.
hair dryer on it.
I don't know if Hank was in the bathtub with Isaac or if he was in the shower and got out recently. But now, if we're really reading in the context of modern day Iceman, now it appears that there's been a very furry, scaly menage a trois going on in this bathroom. And because then we have Bobby using a brush to clean Isaac's wings in the bathtub, and Hank blow drying his fur. People are going to think we're making this up. I promise you, folks, we're not inventing this scene.
When this episode goes up on my YouTube channel, the Brian Keene YouTube channel, I will close up on those panels, so you know we are not making.
Yes,
this
please do. But again, like, I actually love this page because it feels to me like something out of if the Three Stooges were a weirdo, like, monster superhero group. This would be what was going on there.
Well, then enter their straight man, because as Bobby and Hank go racing down the stairs, they quite literally run into the Overmind.
Right.
And the Overmind says, "Oh, pardon us. We were lost in thought and did not see you coming."
Yep. And I love this. Here we go. Ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Iceman says, "Whoever that is, Hank, I hope he's on our side." And Beast says, in whatever you said, 1983,
Yep.
Beast says, he is. And he's not a he, actually. He's a they. Iceman meet Overmind. Now, I know it's not the same thing as being gender non-conforming or non-binary, because in this sense, there are 6 individual consciousnesses inside the one body. But it is really interesting.
Yeah, it plants a seed. I mean, you and I were teenagers when we read this.
That Overmind is both male and female.
Yeah, I think we both graduated in, 85?
Yeah, exactly.
So, we're teenagers reading this, and it plants that seed in our head for when we become adults to think about these type of issues.
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting.
And this is other than, like I said, what they did with Son of Satan. This is my favorite part of this issue. Overmind says, in what I have to suspect is a voice like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
He says to Beast, "Henry, we have heard from Dolly that all of you will be going out to dinner tonight, and we were wondering if we could be permitted to join you. We have no currency with which to pay for the food, but..." And, Iceman says, "This guy's big enough to flatten half the superheroes in the Western Hemisphere, and he's asking for permission to come out and eat with us?" And the Beast says he's a little insecure, 6 minds worth of insecure. And they tell Overmind, "Of course you can come out to eat with us." And we then transition to a restaurant, and somehow they found a suit, a dinner jacket that fits the Overmind.
Right, exactly. Where did they get that? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
It's from the Big and Tall shop. Yeah, again, I clearly didn't move my phone far enough away to record this episode. Usually I put it in the other room, but it's out in the hallway. Anyway, I just want to point out one thing here. The Beast has been portrayed in a variety of different ways over the years. When he's the sort of happy-go-lucky Beast, he's one way. Right. And then there's the Beast who uses all the big words. And at dinner, he says, "Spare me the impecunious college student routine, Robert. I know your pockets are stuffed." And Iceman says, "Impecunious, I thought you stopped trying to impress people with your vocabulary years ago." And it's really interesting because the people who've portrayed this character since then, over the years, have gone back and forth between which Beast, which one are they trying to show us? Are they trying to show us the erudite, multiple PhD Beast, or are they trying to show us the one who just wants to have fun? Right. So very interesting to me.
It is very interesting. So we're in a fancy restaurant. It's the Beast, Iceman, Overmind, Gargoyle, and Dolly. Gargoyle and Dolly are on an actual fucking date, which delights me.
Yeah.
But lest we forget, the Beast also has a girlfriend.
And the Beast also had a date tonight.
Yeah. He had a date with Vera that he completely forgot about. And it turns out, in true 80s sitcom fashion, she's eating in the same restaurant.
She thought he was out saving the world again. She was worried sick. And basically, she's pissed. You can just go right on forgetting. Good night, Mr. McCoy. You know, so she's done with him. Anyway, it gets to the point where he's upset, and Overmind says, "This isn't what's really bothering you, Henry. I can sense deeper problems stirring within your mind. Share them with us." And then we get the Beast, who's ruminating quite a bit. Brian, he's basically thinking about the fact that his future is very uncertain. He left the Avengers to try to find himself, as characters seem to do often in the 80s. And he gets hooked up with another super team. Anyway, the net of this conversation is that he doesn't like the fact that this team is not really a team. The non-team with the loose membership doesn't sit well with him. And Dolly's the one who says, if you want it to be a real team, Hank, then why not make it one? And he says, make it one? Then the dancing begins, and, you know, but we know that that's lingering in his brain as Dolly and Isaac go out and hit the dance floor.
And, you know, it's funny to me in rereading this. I mean, there is a huge paradigm shift coming for this title. For over 120 issues, the Defenders have been a non-team.
Right.
And that's about to change. Spoiler warning. But I never realized it was Dolly who sets that into motion.
Yep.
Along with a certain elf with a gun, but we'll get to that later.
Right. Then we get, we get a toast, basically. They're toasting to friendship. Isaac toasts to friendship and better days. And we see around the table here the nut at the center of what's going to grow into the new Defenders.
Yep.
Anyway, Defenders number 123 with a fascinating cover, to my mind, that includes the Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
Is called Of Elves and Androids. Again, DeMatteis, Perlin, and DeMulder. And Brian, it starts with your best friend. So
it starts with a splash page where the elf with a gun is breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to us, the readers. And he's encouraging us to turn the freaking page. And he says,
I think that the elf with a gun is the original Deadpool, by the way.
That's right. He says, a couple of minutes ago, these four super types, the Submariner, the Silver Surfer, the Hulk, and Doctor Strange, were sitting pretty in Strange's Greenwich Village sanctum. Then I showed up, unloaded a round from my trusty handgun, and Viola, here they are. But where is here? That's just what they'd like to know.
All right. They're lost in time, basically, and what's happening?
They're swirling through a time storm.
Yeah, and Brian. So here's the thing, and this is where when I said a little while ago that you're going to be mad at me, I think that there's a lot of just shenanigans that go on here. All due respect to DeMatteis, he's unfolding it in a way that feels dramatic, so that it has to be sort of unfolded. But there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to get us to what ends up being a fairly simple explanation for all this. So I'd like to not spend too much time on the Hulk, Doctor Strange, Namor, Silver Surfer stuff, except when you explain who the elf with a gun is and who the Tribunal are and all of that kind of stuff. Going through those scenes, I think we should just go, this is what happens, boom, because it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe you feel differently.
Well, here's my feelings. I love this. All throughout his run, DeMatteis has done very clear callbacks to what has come before, to Gerber, to Roy Thomas, even to Ed Hannigan. At this point, I'm gonna spoil something for you, listeners. This mysterious tribunal, who the elf with a gun works for, and who Luann Bloom, or the android formerly known as Luann Bloom, work for, that is the same mysterious tribunal that captured Jack Norris and unleashed Mutant Force during Ed Hannigan's run. Mm-hmm. At the time, we thought they worked for the government. It turns out they do not. What I'm curious about, and we're going to ask DeMatteis this when we have him on the show, because we're going to have him on in a few weeks. I know why he wanted to do the callback to the elf with a gun, but I'm wondering if the tribunal was editorially mandated. Like
Right.
if an editor said to him, "Hey, you need to resolve this nonsense from Anakin's run," or if he decided to do it, and that will influence my final thoughts on this storyline. But yeah, I agree with you. We can do it in broad strokes, but basically what happens is the elf with a gun brings the defenders before the tribunal.
There you go. Brings the 4 original defenders before the tribunal.
Right. And what we find is that there's now more than one elf with a gun. There are at least 2 elves with guns, because the elf with a gun that shot Hulk, Doctor Strange, Surfer, and Namor is different than the one who's been here with Luann Bloom the whole time.
Exactly.
And it's disconcerting. She still has her face off. She's still revealed to be a robot. She is not Luann Bloom. She is, in fact, again, Time Buoy number 6C.
Right, and has never been Luann Bloom.
Yeah. The tribunal orders one of the elves to turn her off. And we do get something interesting here. One of the elves makes the comment that this is the 3rd robot or android that started thinking it was for real. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this is not something that's ever followed up on the Defenders. I don't know if it's a throwaway line that DeMatteis seeded there for other writers to pick up and nobody ever did, or if it's a callback to something from another comic series that we just missed. But I'm bringing it up here because I'm making a mental note to myself. I want to ask him about that when he comes on the show. Plus, I know he listens, so if he doesn't have an answer, he's hearing now that we're going to ask him about that, and he can come up with an answer.
You could just tweet that response.
Yeah. Basically, they've captured the original 4 Defenders.
Yes. All right. So we cut back to a Quinjet being piloted by the unlikely Bobby Drake, while Hank McCoy fields offers for speaking engagements, and Isaac reads a novel by Henry Miller.
Tropic of Cancer.
Which seems like a strange choice. But in any case...
see, I thought that was a nice touch.
No, I loved it.
You know, we've got Gargoyle. He's an old man. He's a World War I veteran trapped in this immortal body. And he's found love in Dolly. And they've talked before in the series about how, you know, they can't really knock boots.
Right.
But he still feels those urges, and he's sitting there reading Tropic of Cancer and thinking to himself, wow, that Henry Miller can sure turn a phrase.
Anyway, they nearly crash the Quinjet, but they do succeed in landing on the property in Leonia, New Jersey, owned by a suburban couple we know of as the Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
That's right.
Kids in the neighborhood get a kick out of them. They end up being drawn inside, and then we cut away to 3 characters that I don't think we've seen before, Brian.
We have not.
Although, I don't know, did we see Seraph before? I feel like we did.
Yes. I'm sorry. Seraph has appeared in X-Men and Kazar the Savage.
Okay, I thought so. So, these 3 characters, Cloud, Seraph, I can't know how you pronounce it, and Harridan, clearly visually referring to the 3 witches, right?
Right.
The hag, the maiden, and the matron, or whatever. My brain is not working today, so I'm sure that we'll get yelled at later for that. In any case, they're having a disagreement. Cloud, by the way, has been spying on them because she, the teenage girl who is wreathed in nothing but some cloud, otherwise is naked, is able to transform herself into Cloud, nothing but Cloud, and she spies on them. She returns to this house and presents herself to Seraph and Harridan. Seraph can read her mind. Harridan wants to kill them all. She basically tries to order, Seraph tries to order her around. Harridan basically tries to strangle her. Seraph fights back, but basically we find that they are working for the Secret Empire. Brian.
That's right. The Secret Empire, of course, no stranger to listeners of this show, no strangers to anybody who reads Marvel Comics, of course, who are making their comeback here. But apparently, this is a different branch. This is not a branch controlled by August Masters.
Right.
This is a branch controlled by someone known as the mysterious Number One.
There you go. And these three individuals report to him, and we're going to see lots of them going forward.
Right.
Anyway, we have the four original Defenders appear on a floating island with just the facade, like a Hollywood set facade of a town on a floating island in the middle of nowhere, hosted by the elf with a gun.
Right. Now, I agree with Chris. We can breeze over this, but this is the part of the intelligent Hulk that I like. And DeMatteis writes this masterfully. Namor, true to form, in 123 issues of the Defenders, has had enough of the elf with a gun's nonsense. And he grabs him by the throat, and he's going to throttle him to death. And, the Hulk, for 122 issues, would have said, Hulk, help Fishman smash little elf. But instead he says, Namor, listen to me. We've got to hear him out if we hope to see home again. And Namor says, Banner, I'm a prince of the blood. I am accustomed to the respect that is my due. And the Hulk says, just hang in there a while longer, old friend. Please. And I like that interplay between.
No, I liked that too. But what I liked about it was not the presence of the intelligent Hulk, because as you know, I do not like that. But what I liked is that it's always been the ever enraged Submariner who's had to sublimate his own anger to say to the Hulk, maybe you're taking a step too far.
Right.
And stop him from going off the deep end. And now the tables have turned, and it's the Hulk. Now that Namor can, take off the kid gloves, it's the Hulk saying, hang on, you're going to get us into even worse trouble here. So I do like that. Still don't like the Banner Hulk.
Yeah. We then transition to Asgard, which is a place I know you like far more than me. And Valkyrie has returned home to Odin. She's answered his summons.
Yeah, and what we find, and again, this is all laying the groundwork for what's to come here. Odin brings her into a room and reveals that he has a guest. And he is going to set Valkyrie a task that he doesn't explain quite here. But he brings Valkyrie into a room, and the guest there is Moondragon, whom we've seen in the pages of the Defenders before.
Yep, you'll remember her during the Omega the Unknown saga.
Yep.
Child of Earth. He fucked it up for everybody.
Yep. Priestess of Titan, Child of Earth. Also the daughter of Drax the Destroyer for Guardians of the Galaxy fans. Although she doesn't look anything like her father, at least here. No. And we go back to the home of the Vision and the Scarlet Witch. And it's a great scene of domestic bliss here. They're having dinner together. Isaac is eating, as always, it seems. That eggplant parmesan was exquisite, he says. They assume, by the way, Brian, that Wanda Maximoff is the one who cooked this delicious repast for them. However, it was indeed the Vision who made them dinner.
That's right. The Vision reveals that he finds that cooking relaxes him. There is much to be said for the life of a house husband.
Yep, I love that. Anyway, the Beast starts to help him clean. And then we get the Beast beginning his process of attempting to recruit the Vision and the Scarlet Witch for his concept of the new actual team of Defenders. And then they're under attack by a cloud full of lightning. We know who that is, Brian. It's Cloud.
Right.
I wish that she had a name other than Cloud. But we're going to be saying it a lot, so folks get used to it.
Yep.
And they're attacked as well by Harridan and Seraph.
Right. Then we get the typical Marvel fight. Harridan is draining the life force out of Iceman and Beast, reverting them to...
That's a great page, by the way, though.
To what?
That's a great page.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. It is. We get Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, defending her husband. We get Seraph taking over the Vision. Basically, all of the defenders are down except for Gargoyle.
Yeah, and this is actually a really memorable scene for me. This was one I got to it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this bit. Gargoyle is attacking them. He takes down Cloud and Seraph, and then Harridan says, well, whatever you are, you can still die. And she's been able to drain the life out of the other characters, but when she grabs Gargoyle, he's just smiling in a very evil way.
He says, by the way, this body's immortal.
Exactly. And that means she can't age him. And basically, it creates this psychic feedback loop that blows her across the room, which I love. So Gargoyle saves the day by being so old that nothing can really harm him.
Right. So the Beast decides that they better call Nick Fury at S.H.I.E.L.D. and have him come pick up these 3 Secret Empire soldiers. There's one little bit of continuity here that I could get a no prize for. Gargoyle seems to not know who the Secret Empire are, but he was a defender last time they teamed up with Captain America to fight them. So then, we transition from that to the Elf with a Gun. He's taken Hulk, Silver Surfer, Namor, and Doctor Strange through time. And he says, there's something I want to show you guys. This is dear old Mother Earth, fellas, sometime in the mid-24th century. I hope you like what you see, because you 4 jerks caused it. And what we see, Chris, is an Earth that is a barren, smoking husk.
Exactly. Much like the way Trump will leave it. Oh, wait, did I say that? Well, we have time, Brian. Shall we forge ahead?
Beauty orange hair.
What do you think? Shall we forge ahead?
No, I think we should wrap it there.
All right.
Because we're going to do 124 and 125 next week, and 125 is the last appearance of many of these defenders in the pages of the Defenders.
All right. We will leave it there then for now.
All right.
The one thing I will say though is I just want to point out again that I can't stress enough how much I enjoy Kim DeMulder's inks on Don Perlin, and also the covers that we begin to see on this series going forward. We get some of the best covers in the series at this point.
Agreed. If you're, depending on what format you're reading these in, I know you're reading the actual comics. I've been reading the Marvel Essentials Volume 6, which is all in black and white. They take out the color. Normally, I don't like that, but you can really see how DeMulder complements Perlin's line work with these black and white renditions.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff.
Yep.
All right.
Before we go, I want to remind folks, if you enjoy this show, you might also enjoy a few other podcasts. First of all, there is 3 Guys with Beards. That is Chris with Jonathan Mayberry and James Moore and a various rotating cast of substitute beards. You might also enjoy the Horror Show with Brian Keene. Both of those air wherever you listen to Defenders Dialogue, and all 3 are made possible by the Project Entertainment Network. If you like our show, support the network. It's that easy. Best way to do that is go to projectentertainmentnetwork.com. You can buy Defenders Dialogue merchandise. You can get coffee mugs, scarves like the one Iceman wore in this issue of Defenders. Everything. You might also consider supporting them on Patreon. Just $1 a month gives you access to podcast episodes you can't hear anywhere else.
Well, and I will say also, I encourage people who are listening to this podcast to go out and get your hands on these comics and read along. Some of you are, some of you aren't, but they're really terrific. And we talk about the creators all the time, but we don't often touch upon the fact that these creators really deserve recognition and deserve for us to be remembering them. And many of them, including J.M. DeMatteis, are working now and publishing comics now. And so you should go out and pursue those comics as well.
Absolutely. Agree 100%.
Excelsior, true believers!
There we go. Excelsior. We'll see you next week, folks.
You're listening to American Top 40. More tragedy in the news today. Kim Kardashian has a new baby. What the hell? There's nothing good to listen to. Hey, wait, what's this?
You gotta roll that out.
See, it makes me do weird things. I don't like it. God damn it.
I'd be going down on myself?
Shit.
Hey guys, it's Bill,
Mick,
Maya.
and Junior.
from the Unsupervised Podcast.
Check us out every Thursday on the Project Entertainment Network.
Take a break from the stress of the world and come have a laugh with or at us.
Bill.
My Favorite Story, a podcast author anthology featuring short fiction from the hosts of the Project Entertainment Network shows.
Three guys with beards.
Jim Moore,
Jonathan Maybury, and Chris Golden.
Tom Clark from Necrocast on
Brian Keene of The Horror Show, Chuck Buda, and Armand Rosamilia of The Mando Method.
Mary San Giovanni of Cosmic Shenanigans.
Jay Wilburn from Matters of Faith.
John Urban, sick of ink stains.
Biz Zung's Mr. Frank.
Available on Kindle and in paperback and through the Project Entertainment Network store.
www.projectentertainmentnetwork.com.
This has been an exclusive presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.